Good morning, everyone. Just want to welcome you to Founders Den. I am one of the founders of Founders Den, along with Jonathan Abrams, Michael Levitt, and Jason Johnson. They're around here. Founders Den is a co-working space for experienced entrepreneurs. Technology and innovation in San Francisco and supporting it is near and dear to our heart. So we're really happy to welcome Ron and Mayor Lee here to launch SF.citi. Founders Den is almost a year old. And we've had 44 companies come through here that have raised over $40 million of venture capital here in San Francisco. So we love the cause, and without further ado, I'll introduce you to one of our favorite and one of the most preeminent angel investors, Ron Conway.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you and welcome. For those of you who don't know me, I am a third-generation San Franciscan, for better or for worse. It's a decision my parents made when I was in high school to move to Atherton. I ended up staying there till 8 years ago and then moved back to San Francisco and have been active in civic activities ever since. I think it's important to be active in civic and philanthropic activities. My day job, and I'm still very active in the day job, is as an angel investor investing in Bay Area companies when they're what we call babies. These are startups that have 2 or 3 people, and SV Angel funds those startups. Since 1994, when I started doing this, and one of the smartest decisions I ever made was to invest only in the internet and in software since 1994. We've invested in over 600 companies, many of them in the city of San Francisco. For sure, today, we have set a record for any city in the country that has rallied and united the tech community to support collective civic action. This has never happened before. We are in the perfect storm with the election of Mayor Ed Lee to make this happen and accomplish a lot. Ed Lee, as interim mayor, stepped up for the tech community. He kept Twitter in San Francisco. He got the private company stock option tax abolished with the help of David Chu. And he convened last April the Ad Hoc Technology Council, which I know he intends to reconvene as mayor. It was not easy getting Ed Lee to run for mayor, and Warren Hellman and myself, and I know Dianne Feinstein and Mayor Brown as well, helped convince Ed Lee to run. And it's one of the best meetings that Warren Hellman and I had last July when we sat in his office for an hour, and we felt like we made some headway, and we must have because he's here. I don't think it is not a coincidence, or it is a coincidence that the tech community is following the example that Warren Hellman has set for this community. Warren Hellman and I were very, very close friends, and I think upstairs right now, he has a huge smile on his face. He cared as much about San Francisco as any of us. He loved the tech community. A majority of Warren Hellman's investments at Hellman and Friedman were in tech. So he really gets what we're trying to do, and I think we should advance his cause of civic engagement. So after Ed finally decided to run, the tech community, for good reason, rallied around him. And today, in an effort not to lose any of that momentum, we are forming this organization called SF.citi. We do not want to lose the momentum for the tech agenda in San Francisco, and we think this is a really exciting day for us. We heard from Ed during his inauguration when he declared San Francisco's the innovation capital of the world, and that's the charter that SF.citi wants to promote. Ed Lee's inauguration speech was not just a speech. It was a call to action, and the tech community is responding today less than a week after he gave that speech. We represent the new economy in San Francisco, and with this partnership, we hope to create thousands of new jobs. And that's going to be our first charter. We witnessed Ed Lee, during his inauguration, be the first elected official, as far as we know, who ever tweeted during their inauguration. And not only did he tweeted what we call an infographic, which is right here to my right. Heaton Shaw and Dan Greenberg stayed up for a couple of nights creating this infographic that Ed Lee tweeted, and guess what? It's all about jobs. And Heaton and Dan are here, and we want to thank them. Before I tell you more about SF.citi, I want to introduce our elected officials who are here. Scott Weiner, Mark Farrell, who is right here, David Chu, who is right here. He's the president of the Board of Supervisors, and Christina Alagi, who is our newest supervisor. Oh, Jane Kim is here. Awesome. Are we in your district? We are in Jane Kim's district, and Jane and Zanga have been the forebearers of the job issue and raising our consciousness about that, and then Ed Lee adopting it as well. There is somebody in the room that if we could have educated him fast enough, we'd have him stand here instead of me, because he's the most awesome speaker I've ever met. Where is Mayor Brown? Right there. He definitely can be a stand-up if you were at the dinner last Saturday or the inauguration. Ed Lee, a week ago, announced Jay Nath as the Chief Innovation Officer of San Francisco. Jay is right here. He's the Chief Innovation Officer, but his nickname is Chief Hack Officer. We have the Silicon Valley Leadership Group here and TechNet here. Because we are going to adopt a charter to create jobs in San Francisco, we want to think back to where jobs really originate and where people start their work ethic, and that's in grade school. We are going to partner with community organizations in San Francisco, and we have with us today Chuck Collins from the YMCA, Rob Connolly from the Boys and Girls Club, and Eric McDonnell from United Way. As we grow, we will put in structured programs to give kids a path to employment. Now let's talk about the team that's going to execute our vision, and that is our member companies, many of whom are here. And in your packets, there's a list of all of our member companies. We could not be prouder of the number of tech companies in San Francisco who have already joined SF.citi. They're on this placard and in your kits. At 5 o'clock yesterday, we had 72 members. This morning, we had 85 members. And from 7 o'clock this morning, yes, we should clap. Why don't any member company who's not already standing stand? Because this is SF.citi. It's really not the people up here. It's the member companies who have adopted us. SF.citi will be, the power of SF.citi is in our membership. And what's interesting is since 7 o'clock this morning, the following companies have also joined who are not on the placard here. Yelp, Rippleseed, Advent Software, a publicly held company, Yammer, LLL Apps, and we have added a new organization to SF.citi, the Black Founders, who are here as well. Every time we add a new member company, it will go on our website. So please watch the list grow. Our member companies today probably represent 90% of the tech jobs in San Francisco today. So needless to say, we represent the tech community. Let's talk about the structure of SF.citi. I am going to be the chairman of the governing board of SF.citi, and the governing board members initially will be representatives from Salesforce.com, Zanga, and Jawbone. And that board will expand over time as well. There will also be an executive board for other companies who contribute donations to SF.citi for the day-to-day operations. Everyone in the tech community could not be more excited that our vice chairman of SF.citi is none other than Heather Hardy, who is a folk hero. Where's Heather? Right there. She's right there. She's already standing, so we can't get her to stick out. But Heather was CEO of TechCrunch, which is the company that actually announced probably 90% of the companies in this room. TechCrunch announced their existence. So TechCrunch is the fabric of technology in San Francisco. The company's headquartered here. Heather just left the company and agreed to take the volunteer position as vice chairman of SF.citi. Before TechCrunch, she was at News Corp and went to Harvard Business School, and we are not holding that against her. In the meantime, we have an executive search going on for an executive director. In the meantime, it is important for everyone here to know that we have 5 people working almost full-time already for SF.citi in an interim capacity. Josh Ginsberg, Aaron McClear, Brian Brokaw, Alex Turk, and Kelly Boylan, and the 6th wheel is Jake Saperstein. I do not know anyone at the Chronicle. I really don't. However, this team is very well connected. They do their job and produce this great article today with the Chronicle. So we're in good hands on the day-to-day because all of you know I'm busy with my day job. We will be raising a budget to hire the executive director and donate money to other causes that fill our mission. And Code for America, who you'll be hearing from in a minute, is a great example of that. I want to chat for a second about our logo. Our logo, which is right behind me, and there's a write-up on it in your press kit. Our logo actually has some tech folklore in it too. It was designed by Twitter engineer and designer Andre, who is here somewhere. Andre was introduced to me via Biz Stone, co-founder of Twitter, and he designed the logo using a logo that represents standard coding convention, using a parenthesis and semicolon that the engineers use while they are coding. In keeping with tech, it's open source, the code. It was designed by another member company employee at Google. On the jobs front, which is what we'd like to switch and talk about now, we think jobs is the biggest initiative where we can make a true impact on San Francisco very, very quickly. And today there's 30,000 jobs in San Francisco. The people in this room represent a huge majority of that. And it's interesting to note there's a migration of tech companies to cities nationwide. Just in the Bay Area, in the SV Angel portfolio, 3 years ago, 50% of our portfolio was south of San Francisco, and 25% of our portfolio was here, and that has flip-flopped. It's exactly flip-flopped. The number of tech companies in San Francisco has doubled, and now 50% of our portfolio, which we think is very representative, is in San Francisco. there is a migration of tech to big cities. Social media and community websites, it's no coincidence because those companies have to be in cities with lots of people. Mayor Lee understands what the tech sector can do to help. He has a 17-point plan. Probably a third of that plan has to do with job creation. And Mark Pincus and Zynga are going to be our very, very key partner on the jobs initiative. So Zynga is going to be the lead tech company on the jobs initiative. We have already started work on that. We know there is a skills gap and an experience gap with the employment base in San Francisco, but with training, we can fill those gaps and employ more San Franciscans in San Francisco. All of our member companies are going to get their HR departments involved and analyze their hiring for the next year, give that to the Zynga jobs team, and we will aggregate those and then develop programs to go employ and educate the job force to fill those positions. San Francisco already has a great website, Hire SF. It's akin to monster.com, and the tech community is going to be going to that website to try and fill positions that are posted there. Ed Lee said in his inauguration, it's the Year of the Dragon. The Year of the Dragon represents confronting challenges and embracing innovation, and that's exactly what we're going to do. We are the city of the 100%. We are partnering closely with Code for America, and Jennifer is going to chat. And we would not be a tech organization without a website. Our URL is sf.citi.com. And with the headquarters city of Twitter, it would be heresy not to have a Twitter handle. Our Twitter handle is @sf.citi. And with that, I would like to introduce our great mayor, Ed Lee.
Thank you, Ron. Thank you for that very detailed explanation. First of all, I want to thank again the Board of Supervisors because they're my partners here. Board President Chu, for quite some time, you and Jane Kim and I have spoken, and then even more at depth recently, Mark Farrell and Christina Laghi, more at depth of what our future holds for us and what we want to do together. And I want to make sure you know I'm sharing this excitement with them because we have a constituent that is in great need. And I'm going to take a page from what Willie Brown has always represented to me. He's always said to me as good advice, if we really feel passionate about something, don't dither. Don't dither around with it. Move on it fast. And Ron, I can't think of an initiative where it's not even been a week since I've taken the oath of this elected office, and here we are on that first Friday, and we're moving this at what the technology companies really like, an accelerated pace, because we can't wait for bad news to happen to us. And you know, as I've said earlier, every time I turn around, the state's going to say what they're going to cut. The feds are going to say what we're going to cut. Well, we're not waiting around in San Francisco. We're going to create our own culture, create our own obligations, create and support an industry that wants to support us. And so SF.citi is the right thing. You know, when I announced a year ago that I was very much in support of local hire, we did something similar here. We created a mechanism for stakeholders. We called it a city build. We got all the unions together and the contractors, and we focused on construction, where how could we hire and train our workforce so they can build the best and the most beautiful and the most green infrastructures for the city. Well, here, another industry is starting, has started, it's creating jobs, and then we said, on the eve, when Board President Chu and Jane Kim and I went on the eve of that decision to really create the tax exemption for the mid-market, there were some people that suggested, well, are those jobs for us? And we said with all confidence, absolutely, because I know the YMCA. I know the Boys and Girls Clubs. I know the other agencies in the community that have been in the trenches, and they were struggling with this concept called digital divide. We knew that, and we had to address it. We had to address it for our communities. We had to address it for places where people might feel they're going to get displaced. What's in it? How can they be part of it? And we wanted, as Ron said earlier, to be the city for the 100% for everybody to participate. Well, the technology industry is that opportunity. And this SF.citi is our ability to take the stakeholders, the companies that are here and want to be here, the 85 plus and continue to grow, to get their talent and to get the employment opportunities they have, and then to share it with everybody, to train them. And so we don't create jobs for people by just simply announcing an idea. We actually have to go to work. We have to roll up our sleeves. And this is what I meant when we said, let's get it done. We have to have the right training, the right curriculum. We have to get the industry to tell us and to engage with us. Who are the people, what skill sets are they going to look at when they're hiring people? And how can we bridge the gap with folks who have felt they've been left out of this digital divide? And so this training idea, this employment training idea is to get that skill set, to match it up with the company's needs, and if there's a gap still there, to create the internship programs that are needed by these companies so that they can get familiar with these, and then to get the jobs cemented. That's how we fill that gap, and that's what we want to do with SF.citi. It is technology, it's innovation, but it's coming together on a very dedicated training program, and it's one that immediately unites all of the interest that the board has with me as the mayor to welcome in this industry and to be fearless in doing it. So we're accelerating this, we're moving it together, and then I think we take another page of this local hire, and it's similar to SF hire. We are focused on our residents in the city so that they have and generate the hope. And it's not just these jobs, too. SF.citi has the opportunity to gain the innovative ideas that the companies have. So when we announced a week ago that we're working in the very strategic partnership with Code for America, I meant it by saying that we need not only your jobs, we need not only your philanthropic ideas, we need your innovation, your talent to help us reinvent the delivery of services for our city so that we can get the fresh ideas, not sit comfortably in bureaucracies that we're all known for in the city, but to invite that to happen. So if you kind of hear an excitement about it, yes, I am excited about this because I want it to happen quickly, and I want the delivery of services to be better, and I want hope instilled in our kids or instilled in those people who are in their mid-careers looking for a chance. Or I want that hope instilled in a returning veteran who's come here to San Francisco and say, can I get something back from my country, from my city that I worked so hard, that I took the risk for? I want them all to believe, not in what the state's doing, not in what the feds aren't doing, but what San Francisco and its critical industry partners are doing to help improve this city. So I join in all of you, and I signal to it, and I'm excited about Jay Nath's entry into being our Chief Innovation Officer, the first in the country to come right into the mayor's office to do this, and to signal that you have not only a partner, you have somebody that is very dependent upon what we do together with our tech industry to create an additional culture to complement the wonderful tourism industry to have that we cannot depend upon, but also to complement the burgeoning industries of biotech and clean tech and all the other construction jobs that we're creating, but to say to you that this new industry of technology leaders are going to be part of our government delivery and our public-private partnerships. So this is going to be done, and it's going to be signaled through our very strategic partnership with Code America, and at this time I'd like to introduce Jen as our great strategic partner. Come on up, Jen.
Thank you, Ron. I'm so pleased to be here, and I'm so grateful to Ron and to Mayor Lee and to everyone who reached out to us and brought us into this initiative. When I started Code for America almost 2 years ago, I did it for a couple of reasons. I saw in years of working in the tech industry all of the talent that goes into building these amazing platforms and these amazing apps that make our lives so dramatically different now than they were 10 or 15 years ago. And when I started working in government a little bit, I saw that that talent often wasn't going into building the institution that's meant to benefit us all, and that's government. So with all the exciting things we see, still in general, there's this amazing innovation curve that we're all on in the private sector, and what we need to do is we need to get government back on that innovation curve. We also saw that there were such challenges in this that we needed to create a program to bring it all together. So what Code for America is, essentially, in its first year, is a Peace Corps for geeks. We've been working with 10 cities around the country and asking people who have been in this industry to come together and say, I can give a year of my life to making government better. And having worked with those 10 cities, we've learned a lot. In that time, we actually met Jay, Jay Nath, who I believe has been a leader in this, in his role in San Francisco up until now. And I think his promotion is so deserved and will so well serve the city of San Francisco. But I'm so excited now to be able to work in our city where we live and work and where we think there is the most innovation. So our fellowship program really takes startup culture and puts it inside city government. We help cities write apps, but probably much more importantly, we help them understand how startups work. We use the lean startup methodology, we introduce it to people in city government, and we help change the culture within city government. What we're doing now specifically that's enabled by sf.citi and our partnership here are some new platforms. One particularly will get people to do this without taking a year off. So many people apply to be part of Code for America. If you've ever wondered if the tech industry cares about government, I can tell you I see it every single day. We had 525 people apply for 25 slots for Code for America. And that's applying for the opportunity to work for a small stipend, move here, and work under pretty challenging conditions. Beyond that, there are hundreds and thousands of people who want to do this in their spare time. So we're building a platform that will allow the city of San Francisco to put out its needs and have people code on projects for the city to make apps for citizens, to make our community better in their spare time. And that's called the Code for America Brigade. But probably more importantly, we also really believe in the power of the entrepreneur. And so we want not just great side projects that people are doing in their spare time, but real sustainable businesses that can work with the city and in some cases work with ideas that don't necessarily have to work with the city, but still make our city better. When I was coming here today, I had a little trouble finding a cab. And I was thinking back to what Mayor Lee said last week, where he wants more companies like UberCab and Zimride and all of these things that provide other alternatives and make our city richer. It's not just about the existing infrastructure. It's about all of the innovation that you can bring to make this city better. And I'm just so proud to be part of it. There was David Brooks's article in the New York Times, his column in the New York Times this week, was calling Washington to task for not being on the innovation curve. He felt that we should really be holding up what he calls the rent seekers and ridiculing them. I don't want to talk about that, but he had a line in there that I thought was really important. He said, in government so far, there is no Steve Jobs figure insisting that the designers, and he means the designers of government, keep government simple, elegant, and user-friendly. So if we don't have that Steve Jobs figure, we do have you, and we have a friendly city government that wants this to happen. That's the recipe for us to make our interfaces to government simple, elegant, and user-friendly. So I hope that I can add to Mayor Lee's call and Ron's call to all of you to partner with us to do this very important work of making our public institution the best and most innovative we can have in the country. Thank you very much. And with that, I would like to introduce Peter Schwartz, who is with the company that I love because they give their very innovative platform to nonprofits for free. Peter Schwartz with Salesforce.
Thank you, Jen. We in Salesforce are delighted to participate and support in this new initiative. We think it's incredibly important. I think you all know that Salesforce is profoundly committed to San Francisco today and obviously in tomorrow. In fact, in the Cron this morning, you may have seen some of the first pictures of our new campus, which will be one of the largest construction projects in this city. And we need talented people to fill those buildings. We are driven by innovation, and innovation is driven by creative, talented people. We need to attract, retain, develop people in this city to fill those buildings. Without them, we can't sustain innovation. Without innovation, we can't sustain our growth. So it's a loop that continues going in the future. More creative people attract still more creative people, and so on. And that's what we want to participate in. That's what we think this initiative is about. And we think it's very important. We're delighted that Mayor Lee is going to be leading us in this process of creating the conditions in education, in transit, in housing, in taxes, that enable people to live in this city, to grow and develop in this city, and continue to attract talent. I came here in 1969 from the East Coast, and I've been here ever since. This is the fourth company I've participated in since being here, and have a great opportunity to continue to grow. So this initiative, I think, is part of what will continue to sustain San Francisco as that great talent magnet for all the world, as a great place to innovate, develop, live. So thank you. Let me now hand over to Supervisor Chu for the final comments.
Thank you. Good morning. This is an exciting day, I think, not just for San Francisco, but for me personally. 13 years ago, I was sitting in the San Francisco Board of Supervisors chamber, and I sat next to a friend who was very ensconced in the technology world, and we came up with an idea to start a political technology company, which I ran for 9 years, much like the space that we're in right now. When I was elected to the Board of Supervisors, on my first day, I turned on the computer and realized that the Board of Supervisors, we are on the Lotus Notes platform for email. And I found out that San Francisco has 7 different email platforms when we actually should have one integrated platform. We're a city that operates with 36 data centers when best practices tell you that we should have just 2. We're a city where most of our workers think that hackathons are what you do if you want to go to jail. And I think it's so wonderful that finally we are engaging a community that has been engaged all along, but a community that has been innovating in a sector that has been doing extremely well, but one that I think we want to bring your best ideas and your talents also to help us with city government. Now, I want to tell you that we have a new generation of leaders at the Board of Supervisors, a generation that really gets it. About 10 days after Jane Kim was elected to the Board of Supervisors, I called her as she was heading off in a taxi to go on her much-needed vacation. And we talked about the fact that there was a company called Twitter that we needed to figure out how to keep in San Francisco. And several months later, Jane and I and Mayor Lee were standing together to figure out how we were going to do this. A couple months after that, my colleague Mark Farrell and I were talking about a TechCrunch article that I think some of you may remember that referred to the ludicrous stupidity of a city that enjoyed taxing the stock options of technology startups. That has changed. My newest colleague, Christina Olagi, has worked with low-income communities for years, and I know she is very committed to figuring out how we make sure that that Latino immigrant who may be 8 years old, who lives in her district, may someday work at a company like yours. We're committed to being partners with all of you, with our mayor, with our new chief innovation officer. We have a lot of work to do. We have schools that need to be fixed. We have taxis that need to be cut. We have a muni system that needs to be completely rehauled. And I hope the ideas for how this change are here in this room. We look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Okay, we're going to open it up for a Q&A from the media. But before we do that, I forgot one thing. That color is the color of the Golden Gate Bridge. That was a suggestion from Jack Dorsey, co-founder of Twitter. And 75th anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge, celebrated Memorial Day weekend. We have MC Hammer, friend of tech in the back. And with that, questions from the media, please.
I'll ask you one. I'm wondering, sir, if you could explain really clearly for the media exactly what this organization is going to do.
This organization is going to represent the tech community in a unified fashion The first agenda, which we're taking the lead from Ed Lee, is job creation in the city of San Francisco. If we can create 500 to 1,000 new jobs just this year, we can have a significant impact on the economy of San Francisco. Our support for Code for America, another nonprofit, to go into the city of San Francisco, find projects like David Chu just talked about, find projects that volunteer hackers from the tech community can go in and solve problems for the city of San Francisco to eradicate bureaucracy. Applying for a business license in San Francisco is not a pleasant experience. We need to apply technology to problems like that.
Do you envision it more as a philanthropic consortium, or eventually could it be a political organization?
Well, initially, it's about the economy and jobs. Many of us in SF.citi are already very active philanthropically, and the mayor keeps talking about the philanthropic effort. Funny enough, I'm dying to ask him what's in his mind. We haven't discussed that yet because we're focused on jobs. Thank you. Any?
I have a question for you personally, Ron. What is your stance on soap and Anthony, if you want to weigh in on this, please feel free.
SOPA is a bill that's in the Congress. There's a bill called PIPA, which is in the Senate, and the moniker for the bill in the House is SOPA. And these bills are tantamount to censorship on the internet. I was with Ari Emanuel, probably the most famous agent in the country, and Mark Andreessen yesterday in Southern California, and we talked about this. Mark Andreessen had the most concise description to Ari Emanuel. Do you want to turn the United States into China, where all content is censored? These bills are not good for technology. We can name some of the leading companies in San Francisco who, if this bill was passed 10 years ago, would not be allowed to even exist. It will have a horrible impact on these companies today. We are working with senators and congressmen to make sure that this bill stops. It was squeaking through Congress fairly rapidly because the big media companies, of course, don't advertise this bill. Thank God for lobbyists like TechNet who called our attention to this. So I'm sorry to go on a rant. This is a very serious issue for the tech community, and all of our member companies are going to be hearing more about this because we can help.
What was Ari's response?
Pardon me? If you know Ari Emanuel well, he had a few, because Mark Andreessen and I were very open with him about Ari, just because he immediately reacted very emotionally in our favor. And I said, understand, the CEOs of all the media companies that you do business with are the ones that were trying to sneak this through. And Ari said, I know that, and I will help you.
Last question.